from the Earth to the Moon.
We want the audience to come away at the end of every one of our episodes and say, I had no idea that those things went on.
In a massive undertaking spanning 3 years and costing over $65 million, the production included filming in Orlando, Florida, at Disney MGM Studios, at the NASA Kennedy Space Center, and Edwards Air Force Base in California. Apollo program equipment was used for authenticity. The most accurate representation of the moon ever created was built on an enormous moon surface set. And over 600 visual effects shots were created to convey the reality and capture the visual poetry of spaceflight. 12 films tell the remarkable stories of the men, women, and machines of Apollo. The miniseries is the brainchild of Tom Hanks, Academy Award-winning actor and lifelong space nut.
Tom has always been a huge fan of space. He has seen 2001: A Space Odyssey 24 times projected. He likes to say that. Not on tape, not on laser, projected.
I think that NASA should probably send him up on the space shuttle just to calm him down.
We're talking about one of the scripts on Gemini. And I said, well, you know, in this particular mission, there was a backpack that the astronaut would get out and fly around with. And it sort of looked like this. Tom said, yeah, I know. I made it as a model kit when I was a kid. I thought, geez, you know, he knows more about it than I did.
I asked him if Lovell wore his Navy ring in space. And Tom goes, all 4 missions.
Hanks directs Part 1 and wrote and stars in Part 12, while overseeing all aspects of production. His aim is to stay true to the facts, while telling the awe-inspiring tales of Apollo many people have never heard. The miniseries is based in part on Andrew Chaikin's gripping chronicle of the Apollo program, A Man on the Moon.
The interviews were really the backbone of the research, but there was so much other material. I mean, fortunately, NASA recorded everything that happened on the missions. So, you know, you get fantastic things like Pete Conrad telling Al Bean and Dick Gordon how nervous he is about finding the landing site that they're going to try to get to on Apollo 12.
I got some kind of a horizon out there. I got the freighters too, but I don't know where I am yet.
He's up there saying, I hope I can find the surveyor, and then I hope I can land okay. God, it's making me nuts.
Chaikin's book so outlined all the different missions, and I remember the day Tom came in and said, you know, what's amazing is there's a story in every single one of these missions. There's drama in every single one.
What we'll be filming here today is Gemini 8. And if you ask the average person, well, what happened on Gemini 8 in 1966, I believe it was, they'll say, I haven't the vaguest idea. Well, if you say, well, 2 American spacemen almost died in space because of one of the retro rockets started firing without any explanation. They say, oh, really? Is that true? And that's interesting. And so, yeah, and you know what? And one of those guys was Dave Scott, the man who went to the moon and drove an electric car on Apollo 15. And he'll say, oh, really? I had no idea. You know who the other guy was? And they'll say, no, who was it? He'll say, well, only Neil Armstrong, the first man to step foot on the moon.
There's no point in doing this show if you're going to make it up. Because there have been a million movies about made-up space. Someone can pull any episode off the shelf, watch it, and say, that's what happened.
They provided us with thousands and thousands of pages of research material. In fact, we get so much research material that no one ever bothered to look at the script.
You become a total, space geek. That we're going, well, now this computer program, this LPD of 40 degrees, I'm saying all these technicalities, and you get totally into it.
We can probably land the lamb at this point, but we don't know the story.
Veterans of Apollo lent their stories and recollections of the incredible endeavor while verifying the accuracy of the recreation.
Like for the windows in Shepard's flight, where there are really windows or where they are not. So they are doing a great job of being accurate.
What a beautiful view.
Astronaut Dave Scott was on set every day as technical consultant. One of only 12 men to walk on the moon, Scott spent 546 hours in space during the Gemini 8, Apollo 9, and Apollo 15 missions, and drove the lunar rover on the surface of the moon.
Isn't that beautiful? By golly, that's just super.
He was also kind of inspiring because at one point he said, you guys are making a movie and I appreciate that and you want it to be entertaining and exciting and I know you all have your jobs to do, but here's a chance to actually get a record down and to show people in a way that documentary footage never really can. And I know there are limits, but isn't that a worthwhile kind of additional goal? And so it was very inspiring. You'd hear that and you'd just kind of nod and say, oh, yes, Commander.
And these astronauts, Dave Scott or Jim Lovell, the way they talk is in such a low-key way that it's such a non-hypey way of communicating that is completely aberrant to the way we are in Hollywood.
While checking all props, equipment, and spacecraft procedures, Scott also coached the actors on the personalities and behavior of the men of Apollo.
I've asked him numerous questions. I think he's getting tired of me. He was like, Dave.
Most of the actors, in fact all of them, were very interested in how Mike Collins did this or did that, or Al Bean did this or did that, so that they could portray the individual accurately. And then when we started shooting, I would sit next to the director and respond to any questions he may have, or tap him on the shoulder and say, maybe something like this.